Welcome to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. This is your basketball segment, and I am your host, Bryan Spencer, head men's basketball coach at Carver College here in Atlanta, Georgia. And today we're welcomed by a special guest, Harlem legend. Now, he doesn't remember me, but I remember him from Doraville Recreation Center. He had a son, Chris. He used to play basketball a little over a decade ago. But Michael Douglas, from Memphis. If I don't say Memphis, Tennessee, my partner and leader of this show, Vincent Turner, will kill me. So I got to mention that you're from Memphis, the 901, graduate of Booker T. Washington High School in Memphis, and then later went on to Dyersburg State University, played basketball there. And Mike, welcome to have you on the show, man.
Hey, man, happy to be here with you today.
Yeah, it's great, man. Bobby Butler, also a part of our show here, passed the information on to me, man. I said, yeah, I definitely would love to have him on. Now, I remember you, man, at Doraville, man, and I remember you, and you know Harold Hubbard, who's also a part of your organization, the Harlem Legends.
Yes.
Yeah, so I used to coach his son, Cam.
Okay, man.
Yeah,
hey,
you know, Cam,
they like family to me.
Yeah, you know, Cam doing the music thing now.
I know, man. He's doing this thing.
Yeah. He's doing his thing, man. Him and his mom's still doing it big, Shirley Jones. So it's just a pleasure to have you on, Mike, man. You know, you grew up in Memphis, played basketball there in Memphis, and we know anybody that knows anything about basketball knows that Memphis produced a lot of great players, a lot of great basketball. Some people that a lot of people may not know of, but you graduated from Booker T. Washington High School, went on to Dyersburg State, played basketball there. Now, at that time that you was in Memphis, was Larry Finch the coach at Memphis then?
Yes, he was.
Okay, so
well, wait a minute. Now, Larry moved around a little bit. Larry was started coaching on the junior high level, then went on to the high school, then went on to Memphis State at the time. Yes.
Right. So now, how familiar are you with guys like Keith Lee and Baskerville Holmes and those guys?
Those are the guys that I played against throughout my high school and early years in Memphis growing up. Keith Lee and I are in the same class. Baskerville maybe a class under, but yes, all of those guys we're all familiar with each other, and we played together growing up.
Right. Now one of my favorite guards, man, I saw, and I don't know if it's the same guy as part of your Harlem Legends, is Andre Turner. Is that the Andre Turner that played with Memphis?
That's the Andre Turner who played in Memphis, and he travels with us now with the Harlem Legends. Yes.
Okay. Now he was one of my favorite. Fast, man. That dude he had speed, man. He was one of my favorite guards growing up as a kid.
Hey, not only fast, but highly intelligent basketball wise. Very knowledgeable of the game. And, you know, he's coaching at Mitchell High School, his alma mater in Memphis, and he's won a couple of state championships down there. And they named the gym the Andre Turner Arena at his high school.
Okay. Wow. We might have to get him on the show then too.
Oh man, I'm sure he would love it. And he travels around with us now when we're doing shows. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's get into it, man. Memphis, Tennessee, man. You know, we've already mentioned some of the people that you grew up with, Keith Lee. You know, a younger audience may not know these guys, man, but back in that time, man, your time, the Keith Lee, Baskerville Holmes, Andre Turner. I mean, that was Memphis State has some great basketball teams. And I remember them, you know, being loaded with guys right there from the city of Memphis. So kind of just share with us what it was like growing up in Memphis, playing high school basketball, playground basketball in Memphis in that time.
Well, I'm going to tell you, man, that's where I was able to hone my skills. I traveled all over the city playing, and you know, we didn't have it like it is now. You know, you can't go to certain neighborhoods. We went out, we went everywhere. We went all over the city playing. And there's a lot of great players that have played in Memphis that has gone on to bigger and better things within their basketball careers. And like my best friend, McKinley Singleton, we played together in high school at Booker T. Washington, and he went on to Shelby State. And Shelby State had, in '79, they got all the top players in Memphis that year. Huh?
Isn't that a junior college?
Junior college.
Right.
They got all the top players in '79 that was in Memphis. And they all went to Shelby State Junior College. And I didn't go to Shelby State. I went to Dyersburg State. And we were in the same conference. So it was fun growing up in Memphis playing. And, you know, a lot of my good friends, like I say, they not only played high school ball, but college ball. And a lot of them went on to the pro level, such as McKinley Singleton, Andre Turner, Keith Lee. Everybody played on a higher level. And, you know, and that was my route that I was taking also, leaving Memphis. My plans were to play professional also.
Okay. So let me ask you this, man, because, you know, I've coached recreation basketball here. I've coached AAU basketball, high school basketball, and now doing college, but here in Atlanta. But it's a lot different now. I'm originally from Syracuse, New York, and then I graduated high school in North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina. But I can remember as a youngster, man, we would ride our bikes to different neighborhoods, and you would challenge other neighborhoods and play. And, you know, you had to, you know, defend your neighborhood, defend your street. You know, now you go to parks, man, and there's goals and nobody playing, and, you know, it's a lot different if these kids can't go to a gym and play, you know, LA Fitness or, you know, maybe a rec center or something. They don't use the outdoor facilities as much. Kind of tell me what it was like for you. Did you guys play like neighborhood games and go neighborhood to neighborhood, you know, block to block? Or how was it then?
We did that. We played indoors and outdoors. And I played a lot of outdoors ball as a younger kid. But as I moved up to the high school level, we were able to utilize gymnasiums. So I started playing in gyms all over the city. And I remember back in the '70s, Memphis did something. They renovated all of the parks and all of the gyms where the kids could have somewhere to go and play. And, you know, you can certain areas in other cities, and you will see the nets are not on the baskets, on the rims. That's never in Memphis. There's always nets on the baskets, and they were always kept well for the kids to go out to, you know, to play at their leisure. And we utilized them fully all over the city.
Right. So you graduate from Booker T. Washington High School. What was the recruiting process like for you when you graduated from high school? What schools were looking at you? Were any big schools looking at you? And like, what was your mindset? Did you have to go D1, or what were you thinking at that time?
Believe it or not, there wasn't any schools recruiting me. So I recruited them. I didn't wait on them to come looking for me. And I sent my resume and information out to schools all across the country in hopes of receiving a college scholarship. And Dyersburg State, which was only like 80 miles from Memphis, they offered me by seeing me play in the summer league in Memphis. I think I was playing in the Bluff City Classic, you know, at an early age, and Dyersburg State coach was there, and he offered me a scholarship, and I had to take it because I didn't have a lot of schools after me. And, you know, even at that time, Memphis was, you know, getting on the map for basketball, but a lot of schools wasn't coming in there looking for us. So I had to go out and look for them. So That's a program that I offer now to kids. I let them know, do not wait on college to come recruit you. You put your information packet together and you send it out to 100 schools. You'll probably get one off. So if you do that, I think it helps, instead of sitting back waiting, because that was in 1979 that I had to do that. So Dyersburg gave me an opportunity, and that's where I played. So
right. So now Dyersburg was a junior college as well?
Yes.
Okay. And so you go to Dyersburg State. Now, we know at that time, that's the era where, college basketball was only on Saturday. You get the Saturday doubleheader probably on NBC, and then you get your pro sub doubleheader on CBS on Sunday. So it wasn't as much exposure back then for basketball and college athletics. So you go to Dyersburg.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat, Coach?
Yeah, I was just saying that back then there wasn't as much exposure for basketball at that time. You had the game, you had the doubleheader. I think on Saturdays, Coach. Maybe NBC. Yes, sir. Can you hear me now, Mike? Yeah.
I'm saying that it's low.
Okay.
It's low volume.
Okay. We'll see what we can do about that. How about now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Mike? So we're experiencing some technical difficulties.
Volume.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the problem is.
I'm here.
You can hear me now? Okay. So we'll see what's going on with that. But I remember Mike, he had a son named Chris who also played basketball at a rec center I used to run in Doraville, city of Doraville here in Georgia. And I remember his son was a competitor. And the one thing I remember about Mike was kind of laid back. He wasn't on, at least in public, wasn't on his kids, pressuring them like a lot of people do. Can you hear me now, Mike?
I mean, it's kind of low, but I can hear you.
Okay. So I was just.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great, man. I hear you great. So I got my volume all the way up. So hopefully you can hear me now a little bit. But I was just talking, about, how you kind of dealt with your son and him. And because a lot of times when you play at a higher level, like you going on and playing with the Harlem Globetrotters, and now you have everything with the Harlem Legends, a lot of times it's harder to coach your own children because your expectations might be too high or you might be too tough on them, whatever. How did you deal with raising your kids in terms of athletics and having already played at such a high level yourself? Yeah, we have some technical difficulties.
Well, I didn't want to. I'm going to see here. I don't know why we're having.
Go ahead, Mike. We can hear you. We can hear you, Mike.
Can you see me?
Yes, sir. I can see you and hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to put in, excelling in sports. I just wanted him to go out, have a good time, have fun at a young age.
Right. Right. Well, you mentioned some things, man, earlier about playing and where you went around, and it's different now with these kids today because they don't go places to play and ride their bikes to different neighborhoods. They pretty much have to be taken most places and dropped off, and if they don't have transportation, they really don't play like that. So it's just interesting to talk to people as we have some difficulties with Mike, and we'll get him back on as soon as we can. But it's interesting to talk to people about, the different eras of basketball. And, I'm 53, and Mike is, somewhere in that range as well. and you heard him say that he played outdoors in the parks and traveled around the different neighborhoods and playing. And then as he got older, in the high school, then the gyms and everything were made accessible to him. And so, it's just interesting to talk to different people about their experiences growing up. And one of the things that I've noticed with the youth and basketball these days is that if it's not organized, they really don't participate. And I just feel like it's a different era, different day and time. But I believe that the place that you really hone your skills is where there is no coaching. And, you're not guaranteed a quarter in the first half and a quarter in the second half. And you got to go to the court and call ups. And if you don't call ups, and you ain't gonna play. Somebody might not pick you up. And then if you ain't tough enough, they'll take your run from you. Man, you ain't got no ups. Get out of here, man. I was a young guy always. I was always a young guy out there. So they would take my ups, man. But I think that's a necessary part of the development and the growth of athletes today that they're missing. Like, you got to fight for that playing time. Even rec center teams, like I didn't have a rec center growing up. In my area, we used the elementary school as like the rec center. And so we would call other rec centers and other elementary schools, and say, hey, we got some guys who want to play. And that's how we put together games. And, the people that ran the rec center, they would referee, we kind of coach ourselves. And, but I think that was an important part of development, because if you really wanted to play, man, you had to work. You had to work on your game. You had to work on your skills. You weren't going to just play because you wanted to. And now,
exactly.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yes, I've been with you. I'm here.
Okay, go ahead. So talk to me about that aspect, man, of just earning that playing time and earning the bragging rights and the respect of your peers of playing growing up.
Well, let me tell you this. I moved to Houston in like 1982. And
okay.
I figured if I was going to get a shot at any professional basketball team, I needed to be in the city where there were a team. And Houston Rockets was the city that I chose. I moved down with a friend of mine, and we traveled around Houston, and I used to play at the Fundy Rec Center with all the pros, Moses Malone, Clyde Drexler, and all of those guys. But when I first got there, they would not allow me to play. I couldn't get that next. They were only playing among themselves, and they would not allow anyone that they didn't know to participate. Right. Well, I showed up every day, and eventually I got on the court to play. And once I got on that court, I didn't get off. I was one of the local stars down in Houston, Texas, and playing. And I remember playing in a tournament, the Great Texas Shootout. And the Globetrotters had someone in the audience while I was playing. And I just happened to score 55 that day. And they invited me to their camp right after that. And I went to Globetrotter camp in 1986 before I actually got an opportunity to go to camp. And being in camp, they invited a total of 1,500 players from all across the country. And they picked a handful of us, about 6 or 7, and I was the top pick out of those 1,500 players who tried out that year. And because my first option, my first thought was, I'm going to play for the Houston Rockets. Right. But when the Globetrotters offered the contract, I couldn't look back. I didn't have a basketball job at that time. I was just hoping to get one. And once the Globetrotters offered that contract, that was it, and the rest is history.
But I think what you just said is important, man, because you went somewhere to play, and they wouldn't let you play. but you
No, they
kept
did.
coming back and you kept coming back and you kept coming back. And then finally, when you got your opportunity, you seized the moment.
I seized the moment and became a legend in those few years of living in Houston. And the late great Moses Malone, good friend of mine, you know, of course he has passed. Uh,
Right.
he helped open that door for me to be able to play on that stage. And although it was somewhat recreation pickup ball, but it was with all the local NBA players and other players who was playing professional in other places. And I got an opportunity to put my foot in that door, and I wouldn't let it close.
And then so that perseverance that you showed led you to the opportunity to get with the Harlem Globetrotters, and you toured with them for what, about 7-8 years?
7 years, man. I toured as the top showman for the Globetrotters, and have traveled to over 100 countries. And you know, and once you're a Globetrotter, you're always a Globetrotter. So I'm still trotting around.
Right. So you got to talk to me about that experience, man, because I know as a kid, man, I went to see the Harlem Globetrotters for the first time at the Syracuse War Memorial Arena, and man, it was just, and even though you've seen it on TV, you know what I mean, watching, something about seeing it in person and live as a kid, man, something about that, man, just, I don't know, I can't even explain what it is. It just does something to you. What was that like, man?
It's magical. It's magical, man. And I'm gonna tell you, out of those 7 years, I'm sure I played over 2,500 shows around the country. In those 7 years, we played 250 to sometimes 300 shows a year, and
Wow.
every night it was like brand new, because one of my Globetrotter teammates, who has also passed, Billy Ray Hobley, he told me, he said, listen, some of these people have never seen the Globetrotter. So this is the first opportunity they get to see. So when you go out there, you be a professional and you give them the best show that they've ever seen for someone who have never seen. So for all of those 2,500 shows, it was like the very first show every time I went out. The audience was new, and we had to go out and put on a show. And of course, no one makes all of their shots, but on any given night, we make some incredible shots that the audience, uh, they are amazed with what we can do. The show is
Right.
very organized and choreographed, and it was just a wonderful experience for me. And I feel very blessed to be able to have had that experience,
Right.
because you can have your mind set on one thing and God have another plan for it. So my plan, I thought I was going to play for the Houston Rockets, but by
Right.
being a Globetrotter, I think that opened up the door for me to do the things that I'm doing today, which was
Right.
a greater blessing.
Right. And so
Yeah.
you play with the Globetrotters, and I actually had the opportunity to play with Curly Neal quite a few times, man. I went to North Carolina A&T originally out of high
Okay.
school, and Curly Neal used to come up and would play with us from time to time up there, man. And one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and he could play.
Yes.
Like, he wasn't just a trickster; he could play. Like,
Yes.
yeah. So you had the experience with the Globetrotters, and now you have the thing with the Harlem Legends. What made you put that together, and talk to us about exactly what that is that you guys do?
I'm gonna tell you, man, while I was touring with the Globetrotters, I think maybe around 1991, we did a show in Jacksonville, Florida. And after the show, a gentleman by the name of Denny Reasoner came to me and say, man, I want this show in my hometown. It's a small town, St. Mary's, Georgia, and we want to bring the Globetrotters to my small town. And I mentioned to him, I said, well, I have nothing to do with the booking. You need to contact the Globetrotters and explain to them what you're trying to do. Well, he contacted me back and he said, the Globetrotters said that they're not coming to a small town like that. The closest city is Jacksonville, Florida. So he asked me, he said, well, in your off season, can you and a few of your Globetrotter teammates come down here and do something for us? Well, I said, yes. When in my off season in the summertime, I took a group of my Globetrotter teammates to St. Mary, Georgia, and we did a show against some of the local players there. And after that, I was saying, I can do this. So
Right.
I do about 25 shows a year, maybe 2 shows a month with my Globetrotter teammates and some former NBA players and some other professionals. And we do a celebrity basketball show, and it's mostly geared toward organizations' fundraising efforts. We go through different schools, churches, youth organizations, nonprofits, and I've been doing this for almost 30 years.
Wow.
And I'm still running up and down the court, shooting the hook shot, and doing everything that I've been doing my whole career. The only thing that I'm not doing is dunking. I'm not dunking anymore, but I shoot better. So I think I shoot about 75, 80%. So I shoot much better than I've ever have in my life since I stopped dunking.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got a dunk in you, man. You got one dunk left in you, I'm sure.
I'm sure I can, but I don't think I would. I don't think my body would say that it enjoyed me dunking for no reason. So I can do a layup. I can do a layup and get the same 2 points as the dunk.
There you go.
And I can shoot extremely well, and I can make that just as exciting because I do wear a microphone during the show, so I can pump up whatever I'm doing. So no dunking at this age.
Right, I hear you. The takeoff would be all right. Probably the landing you got to worry about the most.
But it's the landing. It's the landing. But even when I'm not doing the shows, I still play a couple times a week at the LA Fitness. So I run up and down the court, still not trying to dunk, but I'm still getting my run in regularly.
Right. Well, that's good, man. And so you played with the Globetrotters, and you got your own thing that you've done now with the Harlem Legends for 30 years. That's an amazing story right there in itself, how that came about. And talk to us about, the Michael Douglas Youth Foundation and what you guys are doing. And you talked about it a little bit earlier, how you helping kids get into college and stuff like that. Talk about that.
Well, through the Michael Douglas Youth Foundation, which I formed in 1991, we were offering different activities and events to different organizations. Not only do we offer the celebrity basketball show, but we do basketball camps. We do about a dozen camps throughout the year, mostly in the summer and during the holiday breaks. We're motivational speakers, and the Harlem Legends, the players that make up the Harlem Legends, are the ones that help carry out the mission of the foundation. And that's by going into these different schools and churches and organizations and doing a variety of activities, the shows, the camps, special appearances, just autograph signings, just going out and enhancing different events and communities around the country. A lot of people, a lot of young kids still are not familiar with who the Harlem Globetrotters are. But when I walk into the school and I have that ball spinning on my finger, that gets their attention. And once I get their attention, I hope the message that follows that sticks with them much longer. And some of our topics that we speak about, overcoming obstacles, dreaming dreams, staying away from bullying. We have a variety of topics that we touch bases on when we're talking to the kids, and just trying to be overall good, positive role models, not only for the youth, but for whoever come in contact with us.
Right. And listen, you see now with the political climate and how things are now, you see the NBA players are speaking out a little more politically as they used to years ago, and they're trying to get young men and ladies to register to vote and to use their voice and their platform, to make a difference. I know myself as a coach, man, I absolutely love coaching basketball and the X's and O's and the strategy and all of that. But man, one of the things that I do with my guys is once a week, I spend 30 minutes with my guys just talking about what's going on in their life. And that has become really one of the favorite parts for me of coaching. I haven't got started with it this year with our guys because they're just kind of reporting because of the COVID situation. But we'll start that next week.
Right.
But it sounds like for you, like you're using your skills of basketball, your ability to play basketball, and to get their attention through basketball to do other things, man. What does that do for you personally when you see that you're impacting somebody's life beyond just the game?
Well, it does my heart good because being a basketball player is just what I do. It's not who I am,
Right.
and I enjoy what I do, but I really love who I am. And I want to be known as a good person. I want to be able for people to say that I help them in some way, even if it is just a word of encouragement. You never know what anyone is going through. And my life has been truly blessed. And I want to be able to share that with those that I come in contact with. And when I come across kids that have been in my camp 15, 20 years ago, and now they're grown with their families, and they tell the stories of how they interacted with me and other players, other Harlem legends, and how we made them feel, and I think that's an important aspect of what each and every one of us should be able to do or should want to do. Make people feel good and not divide and not tear down. We're in the building up business. I try my best to encourage at every aspect. And so that's part of what keeps me encouraged by looking at the people that I have touched and see that they have good memories and good stories about interacting with me.
Right. And people a lot of times people will not always remember the things that you say, but they're going to remember how you make them feel. And
Exactly.
I can remember watching the Harlem Globetrotters as a kid on ABC on Saturdays and remember how they make me feel. And when I first saw them at the Syracuse War Memorial, how they made me feel. So I'm sure you've made hundreds of thousands of people feel good with what you've done with the Harlem Globetrotters, and now with your own thing with the Harlem Legends, and then with your Michael Douglas Youth Foundation. So, Mike, we just appreciate you coming on the show. But before you go, man, because I don't want to take all your time, before you go, because you're older, the debate and the conversation is always out there. Who's the greatest player of all time? LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe, Kareem, whatever. I only like to have this conversation with people that have seen Mike play. This younger generation, of course, they love LeBron, it's their generation, but they haven't really seen Mike. So I know you've seen Mike and LeBron. Taking nothing away from Mike, nothing away from LeBron. In your opinion, who's the greatest player of all time? And it doesn't have to be Mike or LeBron. In your opinion, who's the greatest player of all time?
Well, I would say that Michael Jordan came along in an era that seems like the NBA needed something, and Mike was able to fill that void. Although Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, once they stepped on the stage, they gave the NBA some type of credibility that they didn't have. But
Right.
Mike came along and took it to another level. And I like Mike. I would say that Mike is the greatest out of all of those players. But of course, it's only a matter of opinion because there are some people who think Magic is the greatest. Some
That's
people
right.
would think Larry Bird is the greatest. But then if you've seen Wilt Chamberlain, he blows all of them out the water.
Right.
You know, Bill Russell got 11 championships. So there have always been great players, just different eras. Right. Now, Mike came along. I really enjoyed watching Mike, and Mike was great inspiration. And like I say, I would think my game is more comparable to Michael Jordan's game than it is Magic or Larry Bird's game. And of course, none of our game can compete and can compare to Wilt Chamberlain's game. So there has always been great players, but for me personally, I would have to go with Michael Jordan.
Right. And you know
now,
what?
You mentioned LeBron. Now, I like LeBron, and I want to see him succeed. But
I do too.
LeBron doesn't demonstrate, and I don't know if this is the right word, but the killer instinct as far as totally dominating his opponent. And I think if he would use those skills, and now he has the skills. So when I'm talking about the total domination, I think that is something that has to come from inside. And so his skills can dominate. But if he would play power forward, oh my goodness, it'll be over. Hey, don't worry about LeBron shouldn't worry about trying to be the point guard. He needs to be the finisher, not the facilitator. And that will make him far more greater than his opponents.
That's an interesting take. Now, I haven't heard anybody give that take before. That put him at the power forward.
He doesn't need to. Why would, if he's a point guard, anybody can guard him. But if you put him down where he's going toward that basket, no one can guard him. And I mean, in any era, no one could guard him.
Wow.
But if he want to bring that ball down 94 feet, okay, anybody can guard that. Just stay in front of him. And if he's the point guard, he's going to pass it. So he need to be the finisher, not the facilitator. But that's just my opinion. Just my opinion.
That's what makes sports great, man. That's what we love about sports is the debate and the different opinions. So that's a new take. I've never heard nobody say put LeBron at the power forward spot. That's something that I'm gonna look at. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, who could guard him there? No one. But like I say, if he want to bring the ball down, anybody can stay in front of a player bringing it all the way down the court. But going to that hoop is a whole different thing.
Right. Do you think his body could withstand the pounding of a power forward? Because there's more beat, there's more physicality down there.
Now, at this point in his life, I don't think he wants to take that pounding, and I don't blame him.
Right.
Because that's how you draw your fouls going to the hoop, and you're going to get hit. And, playing that point guard position is a little glamorous, and you're not going to get as much physicality put on your body, which could be his mindset. And after so many years, I'm not going to blame him. But he's been playing like that his whole career. Some coach should have told him, I don't need you to bring the ball down. That's not something that we need from you. We got somebody else that can bring the ball down the court, But they didn't hire me as the coach of LeBron. So I'm just a sideline coach giving my take on what I see.
Well, listen, Mike, we appreciate your sideline coaching. And we also appreciate, as we wrap up, man, we also appreciate, man, just what you've done over the years and the number of people that you've inspired through your participation with the Harlem Globetrotters and then starting your own thing with the Harlem Legends and the amount of people that you've just brought a smile to their face and given them the opportunity just to get away from whatever, trials that life brings them, just the opportunity to smile and enjoy your performances through the Harlem Legends and then what you've done through the Michael Douglas Youth Foundation. And so we appreciate you, man, for taking the time to come on the show. I want to give you the opportunity, man. Any last parting thoughts, any contact information for anybody that wants to get in touch with you? Just anything that you want to share with our audience.
Well, anybody want to get in touch with us can visit harlemlegends.com, and they can get anything they're looking for as far as how to get in touch with myself or any of the other legends. And everybody's on the website. You can find us out there. And, you know, we haven't been doing any shows since the COVID pandemic has hit, but I'm sure we will be back out there hopefully in 2021, just like everybody's hoping to open back up. And what we're gauging, how we're going to know when it's time to get back out there is when the NBA opens up to fans. Once the NBA open up their arenas to fans, we will know that it is safe to go back out and continue to put the shows on that we're offering. And you know, we just want to let everybody know that we're here. And if you need us to assist in anything, definitely reach out at us at harlemlegends.com. Well,
Mike, we appreciate you coming on once again. And I know our audience enjoyed hearing some of that about you and what you've done with the Harlem Legends and also the Harlem Globetrotters. Great guy, man. Thank you for taking the time out. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching 100 Yards of Football, Sports Talk Radio, your basketball segment. Once again, I'm your host, Bryan Spencer, head men's basketball coach at Carver College. We'll be back again next week with another guest. And until then, remember, life is only as important as the impact it has on other people's lives. So go out and impact somebody's life in a positive way. Until next week.
That's right.
Thanks, Mike.